The champagne fountain sparkled under crystal chandeliers, but Amara Chen sat alone at table 17, her dark skin a striking contrast against the sea of pale faces filling the Seoul Grand Hotel ballroom. At 26, she'd learned to be invisible at events like these, her stepmother's wedding to a wealthy textile magnate. No one expected the black daughter from her father's first marriage to show up, and fewer still wanted her there. She traced the rim of her untouched champagne flute, watching couples swirl across the marble floor. Her emerald dress, chosen specifically to blend in, now felt like a spotlight. She should have stayed in her cramped apartment in Itaewon, continued translating Korean medical journals for pennies, avoided this spectacle entirely. "You look like you'd rather be anywhere else." The voice cut through the classical music like a blade through silk, deep, accented, dangerous. Amara looked up into the face of the most beautiful man she'd ever seen, and the most terrifying. He stood at least 6'2", his black suit tailored with the kind of precision that screamed money and power. His face was all sharp angles, high cheekbones, a jaw that could cut glass, lips that curved into something between a smile and a threat. But it was his eyes that held her captive, obsidian dark, ancient beyond his 32 years, and currently fixed on her with an intensity that made her throat dry. "I don't believe we've been introduced," she managed, her Korean flawless despite her racing heart. His smile widened, revealing perfect teeth. "No, we haven't." He extended a hand. "Kang Jiwon." The name detonated in her mind like a grenade. Everyone in Seoul knew that name, whispered it in back alleys and boardrooms alike. Kang Jiwon, the Ghost of Gangnam, they called him, head of the Baek Dupa, the most ruthless crime syndicate in South Korea. The man who'd consolidated power by age 28 through a combination of brilliant strategy and breathtaking violence. The man politicians feared and prosecutors couldn't touch. And he was offering her his hand. "Amara Chen," she said, because refusing would be worse than accepting. His palm was warm, his grip firm but not crushing. When he released her, she felt the loss like a physical thing. "I know who you are," Jiwon said, pulling out the chair beside her without invitation. "Joseph Chen's daughter, the translator, the one they pretend doesn't exist." Heat flooded her cheeks. "You've done your homework." "I always do." He gestured to the dance floor where her stepmother, young, Korean, acceptable, laughed in her new husband's arms. "They seated you here, alone, at the back, like you're something to be ashamed of." "It's fine," Amara lied, adding how her voice wavered. "No," his voice dropped to something lethal. "It's not." Before she could respond, Jiwon stood and extended his hand again. This time, it wasn't a greeting. It was a command. "Dance with me." No, I can't." "Pretend you're my wife," he said, and there was something in his eyes now, something wild and burning. "Just for one dance. Let them see you're not alone. Let them see you belong to someone who won't hide you in corners." "This is insane," Amara whispered. "Do you know what people will think?" "I know exactly what they'll think." He leaned closer, and she caught his scent, expensive cologne mixed with something darker like smoke and danger. "They'll think Kang Jiwon has claimed you. They'll think you're under my protection. They'll think twice before they disrespect you again." "Why would you do this? You don't know me." Something flickered across his face, too fast to read, too complex to name. "Maybe I'm tired of watching powerful men treat women like they're disposable. Maybe I see something in you that reminds me of someone I lost. Or maybe," his voice turned velvet and iron, "I just don't like seeing something beautiful hidden away like it's worthless." The ballroom seemed to shrink. The music faded. There was only Jiwon and the choice he was offering: remain invisible or step into the light with the most dangerous man in Seoul. Amara took his hand. The gasp started immediately. Heads turned like dominoes falling. Conversations died mid-sentence. Her stepmother's face went white, then red, then white again. The groom stopped dancing entirely, his mouth hanging open. Jiwon led her onto the floor with the confidence of a man who owned everything he touched. His hand settled on her waist, possessive, warm through the thin fabric of her dress. Her hand found his shoulder, and God help her, it felt like coming home to a place she'd never been. "Breathe," he murmured as they began to move. "You're doing beautifully." Everyone's starring. "Good, let them." He spun her expertly, and she followed his lead without thinking. "Let them see you shine." He danced like he did everything else, with absolute control and lethal grace. Each step was measured, each turn precise. But there was something else there, too. Something in the way he held her just a fraction closer than propriety demanded, the way his thumb traced small circles on her lower back. "You're really good at this," Amara said, desperate to fill the charged silence. "My mother insisted I learn," Jiwon replied, and for just a moment the armor cracked. "She said a man who couldn't dance couldn't negotiate. Both require listening to your partner, anticipating their moves, leading without forcing." "Is she?" "Dead 10 years now." The armor snapped back into place. "Murdered by the people I now control." Amara's step faltered, but Jiwon steadied her effortlessly. "I'm sorry." "Don't be, I'm not." His eyes found hers, and they were empty of everything but cold satisfaction. "I made sure every single one of them paid, some quickly, some very, very slowly." She should be terrified. She should pull away, run, scream. Instead, she found herself asking, what was her name? The question seemed to surprise him. His grip on her waist tightened fractionally. "Soyeon. She was a dancer before she married my father, ballet. She was beautiful and kind and weak, and this world ate her alive." "Weak," Amara shook her head. "She survived long enough to raise you, that's not weakness." Something shifted in Jiwon's expression, something that might have been pain if he let himself feel it. "You're very different from what I expected." "What did you expect?" "Broken, bitter, desperate for validation." He spun her again, and the world blurred into colored lights and whispered scandals. "But you're not, are you? You're angry, yes, hurt, but not broken, never broken." How did he see so much? How did he read her like a book written in her own blood? The song ended, but Jiwon didn't release her. Another began slower, more intimate, and he pulled her closer still. Now they were pressed together, and she could feel his heart beating against her chest, steady and strong. "This is dangerous," she whispered. "Yes. People will talk. They already are. My family will never forgive me." Jiwon's laugh was dark honey. "Your family doesn't deserve your forgiveness, but I'll make them give you their respect." "How?" "Your stepmother's new husband, Kim Dae-jung, he owes me 300 million won, gambling debts from my casino in Busan." Jiwon's voice was casual, conversational, as if discussing the weather. "I was going to collect next week, break his legs maybe, take his businesses, but now I think I'll forgive the debt, on one condition. He convinces your father to give you your inheritance, the one your stepmother convinced him to redirect to her children." Amara stopped moving. The music continued, but she stood frozen in Jiwon's arms, her mind reeling. "How do you know about that?" "I told you, I always do my homework." His hand cupped her chin, tilting her face up to meet his gaze. "Your father promised your mother, before she died of cancer when you were 12, that he'd make sure you were taken care of. $2 million set aside in a trust. But 6 months after her funeral, he married Park Murray, and suddenly that money disappeared into family investments." Tears burned behind Amara's eyes, but she refused to let them fall. "Not here, not now. Why do you care?" "Because I understand what it's like to be erased," Jiwon said, and for the first time his voice carried genuine emotion. "My father had 3 sons. I was the youngest from his second wife, a woman he actually loved, which made us targets. When he died, my half-brothers tried to kill me, said I wasn't legitimate, said I didn't belong." His smile turned predatory. "I was 19. They underestimated me. Fatal mistake." "You killed them." "No." The word was sharp, final. "I destroyed everything they'd built, took everything they loved, and left them alive to watch. Death would have been mercy. I don't deal in mercy." The rational part of Amara's brain screamed at her to run. This man was a monster, a killer, the embodiment of everything she should fear. But the broken part, the part that had spent 14 years being invisible, being less than, being the mistake her father tried to forget, that part whispered something different. This monster saw her. "The debt forgiveness won't be enough," Amara said quietly. Dijung will agree, but my father won't honor it. He's weak. Murray controls him completely. Jiwon's smile could have frozen hell. Then I'll have another conversation with your father, a private one. I promise you, Amara, by the end of the week, you'll have what's yours. And what do you want in return? The question hung between them like a blade, because men like Kang Jiwon didn't do favors. Everything was a transaction, a calculation, a move on an invisible chessboard. Have dinner with me, he said. Of all the things she'd expected, money, loyalty, servitude, that wasn't it. What? Tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, my driver will pick you up. He was still holding her, still swaying to the music, but his eyes had gone intense again. Wear something red. You'll look stunning in red. That's it, dinner. That's all I'm asking for now. His thumb traced her jawline, and electricity sparked under her skin. Though I should warn you, I'm not a good man, Amara. I've done terrible things. I'll do worse before I'm done. If you have dinner with me, if you let this continue, there's no going back. Once you're in my world, you don't get to leave. It was a warning and a promise, a threat wrapped in silk. Any sane woman would refuse, would thank him politely, extract herself from his arms, and run as far and fast as possible. Amara had stopped being sane the moment she took his hand. Red, she said, 8 o'clock, but I'm choosing the restaurant. Jiwon's laugh was genuine this time, surprised and delighted. Deal. The song ended. This time, Jiwon stepped back, releasing her with visible reluctance. But before he turned away, he lifted her hand to his lips and pressed a kiss to her knuckles, old-fashioned, courtly, completely at odds with everything else about him. Until tomorrow, Mrs. Kang, he murmured, just loud enough for the nearest tables to hear. The gasps were louder this time. Someone dropped a glass. Amara's stepmother looked ready to faint. Jiwon walked away without looking back, his security detail materializing from the shadows to flank him. He moved through the ballroom like a shark through water, dangerous, graceful, impossible to ignore. Amara returned to table 17, but she wasn't alone anymore. Whispers followed her like a wake. Stares burned into her skin. Her father appeared, his face purple with rage and fear. What have you done? He hissed in English, grabbing her arm. Do you have any idea who that man is? Yes, Amara said calmly, pulling her arm free. He's someone who treats me with more respect in 5 minutes than you've shown me in 14 years. He's a criminal, a murderer. And yet he just offered to help me get what you stole from me, what Mom wanted me to have. She watched her father's face go white. Funny how that works. Amara, please. Kim Dijung owes Kang Jiwon 300 million won, she said quietly. Jiwon's willing to forgive it. In exchange, you're going to give me my inheritance. The $2 million Mom set aside, the money you promised her on her deathbed. Her father's hands trembled. Murray will never. I don't care what Murray wants. This isn't a negotiation, Dad. It's a notification. Amara stood, gathering her clutch. You have until the end of the week. After that, Jiwon handles it his way, and trust me, you don't want that. She left him there, sputtering and afraid, and walked out of the ballroom with her head high. The night air hit her like a baptism, cool and clean, washing away years of accumulated shame. Her phone buzzed, an unknown number. My driver will be outside your building at 7:45 tomorrow. Don't be late. I hate waiting. JW. A second message followed immediately. And Amara, thank you for the dance. I haven't felt that alive in years. She stared at the screen, her heart hammering. What had she just started? What door had she just opened? Another message. P.S. Your stepmother's face, when I called you Mrs. Kang, was worth every penny I'm about to lose on Dijung's debt. Sweet dreams, beautiful. Against every instinct, every shred of common sense, Amara smiled. She typed back. You're insane. His response was instant. Probably, but you said yes anyway. What does that make you? She didn't answer, couldn't answer, because the truth was too terrifying to admit. It made her just like him. Amara's apartment was a 5th-floor walk-up in Itaewon. The kind of place where the walls were thin and the heat was temperamental. But it was hers, paid for with money she'd earned translating everything from medical journals to K-drama scripts. She kicked off her heels and collapsed onto her second-hand couch, her mind spinning. The rational thing would be to text Jiwon back, cancel dinner, disappear back into safe obscurity. Instead, she opened her laptop and started researching. Kang Jiwon, 32 years old, graduated from Seoul National University with degrees in economics and international law, because of course he did. Took control of the Bic du Pas at 23 after his father's death and his half-brother's mysterious downfall. Consolidated power through strategic alliances and ruthless efficiency. Suspected in 17 murders, charged in 0. The prosecutors who tried to build cases against him either disappeared, retired suddenly, or found their evidence mysteriously compromised. He owned legitimate businesses, too. A chain of luxury hotels, several nightclubs, a casino in Busan, real estate across Asia. The perfect cover for money laundering and worse. But what caught Amara's attention were the anomalies. 3 years ago, he'd anonymously donated 50 million won to a women's shelter. Last year, he'd personally intervened when a rival gang tried to expand into human trafficking, not because it threatened his territory, but because he'd sent a message written in blood. Children are off limits. He was a monster with a code, a killer with lines he wouldn't cross. What did that make him? And what did it make her that she was still planning what to wear tomorrow? Her phone rang, her father. "Don't," she said immediately. "Whatever you're going to say, don't." He came to the house. Her father's voice was hollow. "Kang Jiwon, after the wedding. He sat in my study and explained very calmly what would happen if I didn't return your inheritance." I slid down Amara's spine. "What did he say?" "He said he'd start with my cars, then my accounts, then my reputation, then my fingers." Her father's breath hitched. "He said he'd take everything from me the way I took everything from you, and he'd do it slowly so I could feel every loss." "Dad." "The money will be in your account by Friday, all of it, with interest." A pause. "Amara, whatever you're doing with this man, please be careful. Men like him don't love, they possess, they consume." The line went dead. Amara sat in the darkness of her apartment, her father's words echoing. He was right. She knew he was right. But when her phone buzzed again with another message from Jiwon, just a simple good night, Amara, she typed back good night without hesitation. Because maybe she wanted to be possessed. Maybe she was tired of being invisible, disposable, forgotten. Maybe she wanted to burn, even if it meant being consumed by the flames. She fell asleep thinking about dark eyes and dangerous smiles, about the way Jiwon had held her like she was something precious and breakable and worth protecting. In the morning, she went shopping. She found the dress in a boutique in Gangnam, red silk that hugged every curve, with a neckline that suggested without revealing and a slit that climbed dangerously high. It cost more than she usually spent on clothing in 6 months. She bought it anyway. At 7:45 exactly, a black Mercedes pulled up outside her building. The driver, a stoic man in his 40s with scars on his knuckles, opened the door without speaking. Amara took a breath and stepped inside. The car smelled like leather and money. There was champagne in a bucket, a single red rose on the seat, and a note in elegant handwriting. "You wore red, I knew you would. Jay."